Can you hear me? Can you hear me, sir? Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, of course. How are you?
Hey, how are you today? I'm
I'm
glad to
doing well.
see you.
How about you? It is my pleasure.
Mine as well. I really appreciate it, and I'm grateful for your time, sir. How do I pronounce your name?
It is good.
Say that one more time.
What?
How do I pronounce your name, sir?
You can pronounce my name Mahdi Alizada.
Mah Mahia Dezota?
Yeah, of
Mahia
course.
Dezota.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Howard. How you doing today, Mahia Dezota?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Great, great. I am glad to. I'm glad that Arthur got us in touch. And I am told that you are interested in philosophy.
Yeah, of course, I'm interested in philosophy. I'm friends with too many people around the world, but I'm seeking for the one who teach me philosophy, and it is my field. I want to study philosophy in the future, become a great philosopher and create my own doctrine. But fortunately, in Afghanistan, I live and I have a condition that I'm not in security, in safe, and violence has influence in the society, and we are not in safe. But despite of all these difficulties, I am continuing my studies, studying some books in Persian in my language and some books in English because for making betterment of my language and seeking for best friends and some teachers to teach me philosophy because philosophy uh, talks about whatever is beyond my understanding and I want to understand the thing that I don't know.
Interesting. What? Hmm, that's beautiful. Uh, I like curiosity myself. Uh, is there something that can be known?
Uh, I think human minds are limited. We are limited, and we will not understand whatever exists because the existence uh, is unknowable. We cannot know the existence, all the existence, but we will find out something from the existence, and we will continue as much as we are powerful and as much as we have the power to go to the deepest of a point or existence to find out a better conclusion or ideas. But we will never understand the meaning of existence.
Yes, you'll never understand this. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, is there? Is it necessary to have a meaning?
Of course, it is necessary for it need to have it is important to have a meaning, and everything has a meaning. But we human are blind and we cannot see the meaning. We just see the appearance of the meaning, but we cannot go the deepest because we did not exercise the mind and we are not familiar with that. We need to make familiar our mind and our spirit with that, then we will find out the meaning and the correct answer. But we will not find out all the answers that we are seeking for that, but we will get a clue or a small conclusion for the answer that we are seeking.
Yes. So, essentially, what you are saying is we cannot find the meaning there. Okay, but you are also saying that meaning is necessary, though the human mind cannot grasp or know absolute meaning. It cannot know this objectively. So, are you alluding to a philosophy beyond mind?
What?
The human mind has no source. Okay. There is no beginning for a thought
Mm-hmm.
from my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And so to find a meaning, it would need, as it appears, a beginning, a birth, a life to walk towards an end, a death. But we cannot know that our thought is projecting
Mm-hmm.
an accurate story of existence. We can only know our individual birth, life, and death.
Mm-hmm.
And so that story appears to exist
Mm-hmm.
as an individual looking for a meaning that cannot be found. And so, is it necessary to keep seeking for what does not exist? Or is it necessary to seek for something that may or may not exist?
Mm-hmm. Uh, I think when we talk about existence, first of all, we need to, uh, in my perspective, we should divide the existence in two parts. One is that we can see and touch by our five senses, by our five senses, but some point of existence or it exists, but we cannot understand that. For example, when we talk about the death, death exists and we will pass away, but we cannot see it, but we will feel it. And when we talk about science, we do not see the science. When we talk about the philosophy, we cannot see the philosophy, but we feel the meaning of philosophy and we become familiar with that. In this case, we are not forsaking something that we will never find that if we go if we seek like this, it will be an illusion or a wasting time or slacking off. We just pursue the things that we can get or organize our own thoughts or ideas, and we're looking for these things. And when we talk about existence, all the philosophers are argumenting or discussing about existence, about time, about this, about life, and about whatever they talk, and they are seeking for a better way or a better method for making a better living. And if I study philosophy, the I'm trying to make a better life and a better tomorrow for myself and create my own doctrine. I am seeking for this, and if I go to deepest of philosophy, I will not find out, and philosophy is not able to tell me whatever I don't know, and it is limited. And because my mind is limited, I cannot analyze, and my mind is too small.
Hmm. Yes. Or perhaps perhaps it's the duplicitous nature of mind rather than, and I like what you were saying. It just, for example, the story of the self having no source, having no beginning or end other than the story that it seems caught in a circle of mind that has no beginning or end, no source, running along a linear chain of events, what seems like time and space in a line. So the circle just runs along the road, the wheel along the road as two separate objects, but it's not separate. The story appears to be of that of an individual thinking in terms of navigating a linear chain of events in time and space. Although that is not what is actual, the actual fact is that there is no foundation for that story. And so the story arises as separation, as it appears a separate mind is moving through a dimension. But that is not validated by that very story of a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the mind can see for itself that it is looking in terms of its own increment of a position in time and space, your birth and your death, and what happens in between. The mind is only relevant to that understanding. To look beyond the uh, that uh, fragment of perspective, to look beyond the individual that appears to be living on Earth in a, next to the sun and a solar system in this universe. All of that is predicated even on this story of an individual. And so to think beyond that, mind is paradoxical, to go beyond thought of the individual. So it is the appearance of a story of a mind that cannot get out of the circle going down a line in a linear chain of events, but yet not without the validation of that appearance. And so that paradox kind of just happens. And so no knowledge could ever be objectively realized because there is no source for uh, the initial appearance of mind. The mind does not come from a place. The thought does not come from a place. It tells a story about a place to a self, but the self cannot be defined, and the consciousness cannot be defined. And so, from that lack of foundation, appears subjectivity in that things appear to be separate. Uh, but there is no place in which to say that is objectively verified or real, and therefore the 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 story of a mind or the presence of a mind is actually just that illusion of separation and the illusion that there is an individual in a time and a place. I agree with you.
Yeah, it was a great explanation. Thank you for the nice explanation. And this is the question that we human are seeking for, the thing that we cannot find out the meaning, and we will not reach out that. And it is, I think, it is human nature to seek something that he or that human cannot find that or cannot reach out that. For example, nowadays the philosophers, I think mostly I'm talking about philosophers because they are a pattern for me, and I'm trying to mimic them, and in the future create my own doctrine, but differently and newly and modern from other philosophers. And they are arguing about God, about existence, about Big Bang, about world existence, about where did we come from, and what is the brightness, what is the earth and the planets, and they are thinking about these things, and who is the creator, who will take our life, and what would happen after death, and what is the meaning of being alive on earth, and why are we alive. And these are the question I am quite sure that philosophers may not be able to answer this question, but they have a reason to satisfy some other people, the people who are literated, and the people who are like me, and they are not, their understanding is in a lower class, and they are not improved. But against a philosopher, they are arguing, they are fighting, and not physically, and sometimes they're physically, but sometimes they're verbally, uh, they're fighting, but they are seeking, they do their best to find out their best answer for the question that the people have, and try to make satisfy the mankind, and they are seeking for this. And I think they are not interested in that they make themselves demystified or make their minds tired, and they are trying to make their own doctrine. I want this, and you want this, another philosopher want this, but some people are interested in at politics, and politics, or simple at economics, and some, we have different people with different passion. But I appreciate the person who is able to discover his potential at the field that he is able to do and be good at that point. Some days, when in the past I was interested in political science when I watched the videos of politicians and they were talking confidently and they could analyze very good and that attracted me. But when I watched the philosophers, I tried and decided to study philosophy because I found out myself at philosophy and I decided to study philosophy because I am good at philosophy because I have the ability and I have the tolerance to study philosophy because politics is corruption and it is corrupted and you will be a corrupted person in politics. All the politicians are corrupted. I can say they're corrupted and they kill many peoples, but I and the people who were is killed by them and by their politics and by their thought organizations, they are human and a human blood is precious and we need to pay respect for them and we need to pay respect for the humanity.
Yes, yes. The funny thing, there's a lot. You said a lot there. I'll touch on several different subjects. Ultimately, the beautiful thing about uh, talking about philosophy, politics, or what have you, um, is that there is the appearance of two people having a conversation as the totality of existence from across the world. And we are expressing our own perspectives within that level of mind and that level of humanity. There appears to be other humans that are hurting each other, that are killing each other. There's corruption and all of the terrible things that go along with the beauty of life. And the point that I find most fascinating is within all of that uh, rhetoric of understanding and what is, it seems that you are very well spoken, and I congratulate you on your English. I could not speak your language so well, but what appears to be these horrible things happening uh, is the totality expressing itself as it is, um, brutally so at times, and it can be um, hard to understand from that level of humanity. Are you personally going through uh, a wartime type situation? Are experiencing some kind of personal corruption right now?
Actually, myself, do not. I'm not interested at corruption because I try to make the people uh, out of. Try to. I'm trying to uh, guide the people in the right way and make them suggestion to forget the corruption and make some better thing to help others and help the humanity and help the world. But the area that I live there is too many corruptions. The government is corrupted and the people are corrupted because the people in this area, in this land that I am living, are hungry and they are hungry and they are thirsty for the power, for being powerful or for making empowerment. The people are present or willing to lose their health and get the power and get the money, but I'm not a part of them. I'm not a person who is very beloved at material things or stuff things. I do not think about material things because whatever is not stable, I will not think about that, and I will think about that those things that are stable and make me perfect. and the corrupted people are around me, and the corrupted people are in my country, but not all the people. I can say majority is corrupted, but minority might be not corrupted, and they be good people and virulent. And unfortunately, violence and war made the people scattered, and discrimination exists. The people are prejudiced, and the people. I'm not nagging about the people who live in my country, but I am telling the reality. But the reality is not that I am telling you. The reality is very hard to be understand, and we cannot find out the meaning of reality because we are just talking about reality, but we don't know what reality is. It is a title of discussion that takes more than 2 hours or 3 hours or even a year to be understood, and the philosopher did not understand the meaning of reality, what the reality is. And I'm not going out of the track discussing about the people who live in my areas, and they are corrupted because the government and the the president is corrupted. The president is prejudiced, and he discriminates between the nations, and he scattered the people. He tried to uh, make the people scatter by some slogan, religious slogan, and power, and also nation slogan, and he want to scatter the people. He do not think about how to make confederate and united the people and make a better country. But I am suffering from this situation, and all the people who are like me are suffering from this situation, and they try to make the situation better, and they are looking to change the direction and change the power and change the environment for a better place and for better tomorrow and for better learning, and all the people should live in a peaceful environment. But we are not in a peaceful environment. Too many people are escaping from the country, and they are escaping from the country. They become displaced, and they become refugees, and they want to shelter in a safe country. But we are not in safe, but I'm in safe because I have my own world, and the others have their own world. The the world that I am living in is not violence, is not fear, and is not discrimination, because this is my world. But the physical world is full of corrupted and corruption. But I am suffering, but I cannot solve this problem because it is common. It is not an individual activity, but this world one day will be changed by a youth movement, and the world movement and the country's movement. All the countries need to move for making a better change, and I cannot personally change the environment. I change the environment that all the people help me and cooperate me, and be a good supporter for me to change the world for a better tomorrow and for a better living. But we do not know and we cannot prognosticate how much we will be alive on earth, and it is very hard to make a prognostication for this. And I really appreciate, and I really would be delighted to change the world, but unfortunately I am one person and I cannot change. The world will be changed by 2% and more and many of us.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yes, you sound wise beyond your years. You appear to be a young man. Or how old are you?
I'm about 18, at least.
18.
No, I'm 17, but I'm going to be 18 in 3 months.
I'm sorry. What was that?
Now, I'm 17 actually right
Oh,
now.
oh,
After 3 months, I will turn 18.
yes.
Yeah.
Mm. So far as the corruption. and everything that is going on in your world, all the horrible things that you wish you can change, although you know that you cannot. Um, what would you like to do about that? How would you like to approach that conversation as far as as far as change is concerned? You mentioned perfection, and do you think that you can obtain perfection, or is perfection already?
Mm. Uh, about perfection,
Yes.
uh, I think perfection takes time to be perfect, and take tolerance to be perfect, and it is not easily changed, and we cannot change it easily. When we change it easily, to find out ourselves and have self-awareness, because self-awareness tells me that who am I and who I want to be, and who is the people who communicate me, and who are the people who lives around me, and these are important for me. That time I will make a perfection. And you mentioned about conversation. I do not care about the situation. Even in a war situation, I am trying to be in touch with you for learning philosophy, because philosophy is my life, and I am willing to lose my health for my life, because philosophy is a part of my nature, and I will never forget the philosophy, because philosophy tells me that what is right and what is wrong, which way is good and which way is bad. And it is about finding myself. It means philosophy is finding about myself. It is, in my perspective, philosophy means understanding and understanding and argumentation. When you
Yes.
argument, you will understand something, and it might be positive, it might be negative, but it is your job to filter, and to filter all the information and all the data that you get.
Hmm. Hmm. What about the suggestion that all is already perfect?
It is our ideas that we see uh, all is already perfect, but I think uh, it is nothing is perfect in my
Yes.
idea. Nothing is perfect, but we just see that it is perfect. If we go the deepest of the point, we will find out that it is not perfect. Even I am not a perfect.
So can it be perfectly imperfect? Do you know what I mean? Perfectly imperfect?
Perfectly imperfect. No.
No, it cannot be perfectly imperfect. What I mean to say is that the, the self, finding the self, if there is no source for the self, and there is but a story about a self living in imperfection, a self trying to achieve perfection, can that perfection be achieved by the self that cannot be found? You see, it's a story about perfection and imperfection. Okay. The story of trying to achieve something, but there is no self in order to do or to achieve anything. And so the story of perfection appearing as imperfection, it is the appearance of a couple of individuals that cannot find themselves. They cannot find the meaning or the reason or the purpose for this here and now. You cannot know uh, that time and space are actual, and that your memory is in fact real. And so the story of an individual that is observing other things in time and space is the only way it can be, and yet is not as it appears. And so simultaneously, it is perfect as imperfection. You, I know that might be difficult to grasp via the language. Even people that speak my language have trouble with that. But that is what, from paradoxically this perspective, it is not me speaking to you or you hearing what I'm saying. It is that appearance of individuals within a lack of separation, appearing to communicate, appearing to exchange intellect. I know something, you know something, we tell each other things, but we don't know who we are, and we don't know what existence is. And so it is just the appearance of birds chirping in trees, so to speak, or it is the appearance of an individual who, let's say, if you say, yes, I exist and this is real, although I can't tell you who I am definitively, and I don't know what existence is, this appears to be a here and now, in that we are navigating this life, but we don't know what life is. We don't know what birth is or death. We don't know what anything is. We can't. And there is no way to know it. The words that we speak are duplicitous. They speak of separation and labeling things. We talk about ourselves as separate from other. We talk about corruption as being something that we are not a part of. And as the individual seems separate from it, but it is the story of you in the environment of corruption. And within that understanding, there is no changing what appears. There is no changing what is. As an individual is not even thinking in that regard. You are not actually doing anything. And so the story of you in a place that needs to be changed um, is the paradox of what appears to be an individual in time and space. And so, though it may appear um, to be needed to be fixed, it cannot be fixed by the individual, no matter how brutal that may seem. It is what is and cannot be another way. Meanwhile, simultaneously juxtaposed is not is as it appears. And so it cannot be different and it cannot be the same simultaneously. And that is beyond mind or beyond words because it has no separation. There's no individual and there's no other. And so a word from an individual trying to describe separation or a lack of separation is impossible because we speak in terms of duality, and we can, and that is the paradox of it. It is not dualistic appearing as dualistic.
You're right, it is a great explanation, but we will never find out the answer, as I told you already. And we are talking together, we are watching the word, and the word are very beautiful, and the word can be poisonous, and the word can kill me, and the word can hurt everyone that we want. But the word can make the people happy. The word can make the people laugh because it is related how we utter the word. And
Yes, sir.
actually, that we are talking together, we we do not think. We just try to make understand each other. But we are not thinking about that the word that we utter has any basement or no. If it does not have any basement or any fundamental or any source, how can the word springs in our mind? This is the question. So if we do not, if the mind have not any source, so how the thoughts come in our mind? These are the questions we need to all the people, not we or the audience. It is the audience, all the mankind need to be precautious and be aware of these points, but the people are neglect and they are not aware of these things. They do not care because they do not accentuate. If you do not accentuate, you will not pay attention of any word that you utter. But when we are talking and we are attentive, we think that we are apparently we are talking, but in reality we do not exist. We are only a subjective notion. We can say subjective notion. We just imagine something that it is exists, but in itself it does not exist. But when we talk another side that we feel each other and we can touch each other, we can understand each other. We think that we are exist, but we cannot understand the meaning of existence. And for better means of for making for clarifying these issues, first of all we need to understand the meaning of existence. Then we will find out that if we are exist, whether or not, and we need to find or have the rationality to prove the existence or non-existence or duality or non-duality. And these are the questions that all the people, all the mankind need to be aware of this question. But I am quite sure then uh, mm, no, more than 98% of the people around the world will not be attentive of this question because they think that the life is just eating and sleeping, and they do not think about the life from, and they do not see the life from another perspective or with a different vision. When they are not seeing from a different vision or perspective, they are not aware of themselves and they have missed themselves actually, and they are separated, they come from themselves, and the spirit is not related or is not suitable with their bodies. When their bodies and their soul is not related or is not will is not is not related to each other, and they will illusion something, and they will mm, they will be a stranger from themselves. When they are a stranger from themselves, they try to make something fake and fake news about everything that they want.
Yes. I am just speaking in terms of what can be known. And because you cannot know yourself, you cannot know the other. And so, for all of the masses and the people that seem to be one way or another, that is the appearance of an existence in this dimension of separation. Now, just hear me out on this one point. How? You mentioned how. We cannot know how. Well, I present or I propose that there is no how. There is no how. So yes, in that you can appear to teach another person how to use equipment, for example. Yes, that does appear to exist in the separation of humanity. We can teach each other things on that level. But insofar as what is and what can be known, there is no how. I am proposing that, and or I appear to be, anyways. But to lose the question of how, to lose the question of why, and to lose the uh, ability to change anything, instead of looking at what needs to be done to the environment that you find yourself in, just for your personal peace, I suggest um, to look at it from a different point of view, in that there is no objective point of view. And instead of trying to change what you are seeing, instead of seeing what different people need to realize or not realize, try to get in touch with what you can and cannot realize yourself. And in so doing, you will see that there is no self. There is no self in that, in the sense of beyond mind and separation and the appearance of this existence. And you will, in losing yourself, find the perfection in what is clearly not perfect. And you will perhaps be able to at least consider, paradoxically speaking, just consider that it cannot be changed and there is no need for it to change, because it's not really happening as it appears, though it cannot be any other way. And so for you to not to 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 realize there is no mechanism for what appears to be happening, there is no cause or effect, and there is nothing to change in the middle. It just is as it is. Paradoxically, I am suggesting that it to try to focus on that lack of objective reality, and instead of focusing on what needs to be done, try to focus on what cannot be known and what cannot be done objectively. And so, from a lack of foundation, accept life as it is appearing and watch your environment change for the better in that understanding. Now, I'm speaking very loosely with language here, but it is just a suggestion in order for us to get a kind of understanding of where we're coming from. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that would be, it's counterintuitive, and we all get caught up in our own stories. And I know that suffering is everywhere, as it seems, as it appears. And we suffer when we want to change the suffering. And so, what I suggest is that we embrace what is, and what is unknowability. It's sourcelessness. It is the inability to do or anything in an objectively material sense. It may appear that you and I are exchanging information, but that is the appearance of individuals being expressed as the totality. And what is being said between us is the expression of two individuals, um, and that understanding being realized that there is no change. Everything is as it, the appearance of time and space has always been for the individual throughout history. It has always been this way in that story, and it will never change. And but there is no need to change it. It is a beautiful thing that you are being expressed as the totality, and in this muck and mire of what appears to be all this suffering, you can rise above this understanding, or of that story that you are trapped in this situation, where in fact it is just the appearance of that, and it is not holding you to that tether. And you don't have to be caught up in that suffering and just be one of another, one of billions that suffer. you can rise above that. I would hope.
Thank you so much for great explanation. That was a good suggestion and advice. I will keep your word and try to figure out the things that is able to be known, and I will forget the things that is never been known and we cannot understand that, and we should forget the things that is beyond our mind, and we need to focus about the things that we can do something and we can change that from one situation to another situation. For example, when it was a great word that you said, we are suffering when we want to change the suffering. It is exactly true. When we are unhappy, we want to make ourselves happy, and we will uh, face on with a big trouble, and we will change. It is changeable, but we cannot change it easily, but we will change it hardly. And this was the great words and that you said, and all the things that you said was very great and really perfect, and I do agree with any word that you uttered, and the word was very motivational and also inspired me and changed me. Some words changed me and some words motivated me that what should I do for the better mental of myself and for the next steps. And then I want to ask you that what did you study?
What do I study?
Yeah,
I like, I like science books. I like uh, non-duality. I like all kinds of stuff. My friends share books with me and different links. I like all things. The What I love about being curious and being interested um, in what are the limits of what can be known or what appear to be knowledge, and in this appearance of this Q&A, this answer and or question and answer, where um, we can zoom in and we see nothing. We zoom out far enough, we see nothing. And in between, there's this scale of an existence in which all things seem separate. And we can look at uh, things in physics, or we can look at them in spirituality. We can look at them in, you know, in the terms of what can we know, uh, is consciousness, biology, all of that stuff, uh, evolution, everything, everything, and anything that has to do with what can be known about a subject. And so I get to these places where it takes you. There is no answer. Ultimately, there is no answer for what existence is or what life is or any of the big questions that ultimately don't have an answer. But what the beautiful thing about it is to me is that you can get to the subtle nuance of what can be said and what cannot be said, and what can be seen and what can be known and what cannot be expressed, but always seems to be pervading. It always seems like there is something that cannot be said. It's not a thing. And so you can expand on your ability of how to talk about the nuance of language, the nuance of what can be expressed and what is beyond language in many ways. So I try not to limit myself to anything. I actually started again. I'm not. It's not really my thing, but a friend of mine had started me reading a J.R. Tolkien book, which is not my. It's not philosophy. That's fantasy, right? But it's still fun to see the way J.R. Tolkien thinks. So I don't try to pigeonhole myself into any one thing. Whatever I find interest in, whatever seems to be real, or the expression of wanting to know the honesty of the truth of the matter. I want to know what can be known about this subject, and go to the infinite of that, and try to get as much as I can out of it, whatever the subject or the genre of thought may be. And in this way, it just the regular, what appears to be mundane to some, is fascinating to me because it cannot be explained, but it cannot be explained in so many ways. The more you learn about it, the more you realize that you are in this amazing scope of unknowability, and it just brightens everything up, and there is no real boredom in a moment because it's all so unspeakably beautiful. So yeah, I encourage anything that interests you. um, that's what I do. Whatever in the moment uh, piques my interest, I try to follow that as best I can for as long as it interests me. I get what I think I can out of it, and move on. And I try not to ever limit uh, my curiosity or limit my ability to just explore. The most fascinating thing about it is, my friend, that in because I don't I don't believe there is because there is no answer that I can understand from this subjective understanding of self. This individual looking at information, because there is no objective truth, there is no right or wrong, there is no absolute sense of a position to defend or to attack. The It becomes even more interesting. It becomes more beautiful because I'm not behind any wall, or I'm not trying to attack another position. And so it just all really interlocks. It ultimately is all one subject. It's all about the unknowability of this immediate experience. It's very beautiful.
It
How
was a
about
gr-
you?
it was great. But one point I need to say to you: never forget that the curiosity makes imperfect perfect. And yeah, it is right. Uh, I'm a student at a school in grade 10, but I'm seeking my own way and I'm trying to create my own way and doctrine. I do not care about the school subjects, but some teachers nagging on me that I'm not good at mathematics and
Mm,
physics and
me neither.
this, yeah, and they are nagging on me, but I do not accentuate them because I'm not interested at mathematics and chemistry or something else like that. But I'm interested at philosophy, and I'm seeking for the philosophers and trying to read their books and also their biography and something like this. And I'm really curious about these things, try to make friends from around the world and try to have a Zoom call with them and share my vision and perspective. And I will communicate with other people. In this case, I want to share my vision around the world with too many people. And I'm actually reading philosophical books every day, and try to understand something and make myself perfect. I am imperfect. I try to make myself perfect. When I make myself perfect, I will make perfect the world and the environment that I live. If I do not make perfect myself, the society and the people who have inhabit around me will stay imperfect, and imperfect equals to ignorance, and ignorance is the source of all the corruptions and illusion and whatever you say it is. And for making perfect yourself, try to be curious and have the curiosity to make imperfect perfect, though
Mhm.
perfect does not exist, but it is a subjective notion. When you feel that you understand something, believe that you are being perfect, but not absolutely perfect. You will
Mhm.
not figure out whatever you want. You will figure out at least a very, very small part of an issue. For example, when you're thinking about uh, death or about knowledge, you will understand at least a very small point of knowledge, but
mm,
you cannot understand all the knowledge, what the knowledge is, and how it functions. You cannot understand. You will figure out a part of knowledge, but you will never go to deepest, and you will never understand the meaning of knowledge. But though your propensity is for making perfect, but you will not make perfect yourself because your mind is limited, and the mind is being will be tired of seeking or searching, and you will not understand. Even Albert Einstein did not understand what the universe is, and
mm,
Stephen Hawking or Socrates or Plato did not understand what the philosophy is. But you will not understand, and we are human. They were human, and we are human. We human are trying to make demystify ourselves, but I'm not a person who is trying to make myself demystified, but I try to make myself very released and also understand and perfect. And it is my field, and it is my uh, enthusiasm, my passion. And this is about me. That and Yeah, it was all about me. And in the future, I have so many plans to do, and it is not time for that to be to speak about that. And in next meetings, we will discuss more about these issues about what should I do in the future, why I am interested in philosophy, and what is the reason of my enthusiasm or passionate about the philosophy, why I do not, why I am not interested at politics or political science, about law, about economy, about psychology, that I'm interested about philosophy, and what is the reason, what is beyond of my interesting about philosophy. I need to answer this question. Every teacher need to ask me this question, that why are you interested at philosophy? Philosophy's argumentation. You will never find out the reason that you're seeking for, and why you want to make demystify your mind and
mm,
make tight your mind. You make an illusion. What is the illusion? Can the illusion be a solution for making understood, or no? If it is not, why you waste your time? Go and leave the philosophy and seek some other subject or field that makes you happy and make you money, because the material is very the materials is really a great bankroll for me. If I do not have the money, I cannot communicate to you. If I do not have the money, I cannot buy the telephone or computer to join
mm,
you and see you and to find you. And
mm,
this is the money that makes me to study, makes me perfect. And don't forget, the money is a part of
mm,
an issue that makes me perfect, because it financially support me, and I spiritually spend it and make perfect myself.
mm. Yes, I mean, strictly speaking, you're already perfect. Um, everything is perfect, but imperfect. But yes, it's harder to for the individual to enjoy perfect when it's not getting what it wants. And the beautiful thing about that, I it's funny. People tell me sometimes that I think too much, and I and that I need to rest my mind. And I tell them, well, that is predicated on the assumption that there is a mind and that I can do something. And the funny thing about it is the story of the self and finding information and looking at what is relative to the self is beautiful, um, but it is also very telling in that the perfection is in the paradox. Um, as far as the monetary gain, the funny thing is I what was it, friend? Somebody says, somebody asked a friend of mine, where is all this money going to come from? You want to do all these things, but you can't do that. You don't have that money. You don't know how to build these things. How can you do it? You don't have the material. Where are you going to get the money for all of this? And he said, the money will come from wherever the money is now. I thought that was hilarious. If money is needed, then the money will come from wherever the money is now. It's not that you're doing something. It's not that you are choosing something. It's not that knowledge can be obtained. It's not that perfection is not already what is. It is the appearance of an individual being expressed as the totality, who is interested in the fascination of what can be and cannot be um, objectively true and real. And I mean, that there's nothing more beautiful, in my humble opinion. I mean, that is to my experience far more important than learning, how to make money. But making money obviously, will happen. It has to, but it will appear just as your desire for philosophy appears. And so, the individual will run across good times and bad times because you're a philosopher and can't make money like someone who has a trade. But yet the person who has a trade will also go through good times and bad times. They will lose their job, or they will have trouble with their wife, or they will, whatever happens. Everybody will face these kinds of hardships regardless. And I have been from everywhere from the gutter to the penthouse and everywhere in between. And I've met everybody in along that scale. All people run into this unhappiness and happiness, and what appears to be, what they want, and what they want doesn't happen, and all of the horrible things and the good things. But it never seems to matter how much money a person has. It does seem to matter if they don't follow their heart, if they don't follow what it is that truly excites them. And for me, it seems like for you as well, the what can be known, what really is, what uh, and what, and the subtle nuance of what cannot be known, and what cannot be known or regarded as is. And so if that makes you happy, I can think of no money that exceeds that. Um, and as an individual, does it change, what is, whether or not you're happy, or whether or not or the knowledge, or the things that you learn, or talk about? No, it will not change. As it appears, just in the appear, just what seems to be. We are born, we live, we will die, and regardless of all of our efforts, what appears within that how should I say, that medium of a life, a living and a death, um, what is, as far as the universe that individual lives in, will not be affected regardless. And it may appear that one person can affect the world in a positive way, yes, or a negative way, sure. But I mean, here on earth, in this little speck of nothing, in the sea of incomprehensible space and time, incomprehensible space and time, literally beyond the mind's ability to understand really truly what time and space is, within that appearance, and that even can't even be objectively known to be actual or true or real. And that there are many reasons why I learned throughout my studies. I could tell you why that cannot be known. Okay, it's not that it isn't known, or that one day we might find out, or that I just don't know. No, it cannot be ascertained in an objective sense. And because it cannot be, I can know in my heart as an individual that this is all the appearance of what it seems to be an individual observing and learning and growing and dying, all of it. and I can do it happily, whether I have 2 cents in my pocket or not. That to me is worth more. But it's not to say that making money is a bad thing either. I mean, it turns out that you know, within that story of a Howard uh, that learned and grew throughout philosophy, money appears, from the most random places. It's not that I don't need money to exist, but money just occurs. You're a way to make a living and support yourself does seem to just appear as your eagerness to know philosophy, the hunger for knowledge, and to know what can and cannot be known, and beyond that ability or that understanding of knowledge, um, to 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 consider what cannot be spoken of, and in that happiness from inside my heart, in my story, that I will not compromise from that. I this is me. I must know. I must understand that what can be considered truth and what I cannot say is honestly true. I must know this. And in that happiness, I have found more than food, more than money, more than anything. It is truly beyond sustenance. And I see that same kind of desire for the what is, the honesty of what is in you. You want to know what is more than you want to be comfortable, and that is a hard road to hoe. Sometimes it is difficult. Sometimes you don't know all the time what's going to happen, but I offer this understanding in that no one does, and every moment may be your last, and there is no promises about tomorrow. So be true to yourself, absolutely, regardless of what anyone says to you. I personally, it's worked out for me. I am happy if my head is on a rock and my sky is the pillow, and that's it. I mean, my sky is my blanket, my head, the rock is my pillow. That is fine with me as long as I'm true to myself in that paradox of what appears to be a Howard. Yes. I don't. I see you as a breath of fresh air, my friend. It's nice to meet you. Yes. The thing is that look at it like this. Let's say you listen to everyone, all your teachers, and everyone that's telling you, no, you must come up with a trade. You must come up with, you must do something sensible and reasonable and something that will build a future for you. And you sell all of you sell your heart for this stuff, for this for this this knowledge about some kind of mechanism. It helps you build a house, or it helps you figure out some way to make money, and you get yourself a big house, and you have all the things that money can buy. But will you be happy? Will you be
Yeah,
satisfied inside? I cannot see how you would be.
yeah. Actually, you had a great explanation about uh, the money, about how to build the money, and I understand, and I became happy. But do you know where the biggest house is that I have?
No.
Yeah, the biggest house that I wish to live in is not separate from me, and it is not exist. The big house is this. This is the
Beautiful.
big, because it is able to create the biggest world,
Yeah.
even than a big house. The big house is going to be perfect because it is supposed to create the big world and a
Hmm.
better world and a better universe.
Hmm.
And the biggest house is going to figure out the existence and find out the meaning of big house. And it is for me the big house. And this is the big house, and it is the bank of everything that gather, even the money and create the money and make the money and design how to publish the money. And this is the big house. And it is a safe bank. And I will not lose my hope because I do not have money. Whatever I have, it is inside me. And I will not tear for someone because I know and I realize that the sorrow is on every individual on earth, and it is in turn. One day will come our turn and we will pass away, and the others may tear on after us, but they are not doing a good job. It is not a good job tearing for someone. They need to figure out and think about themselves rather or instead of tearing after someone. And the big house tells me that how to design the house and how to make the bridges for a crossing the road, a crossing the Karaji. And the Karaji is very hard to climb or hard to cross, and the big house tells me how to design the way and how to walk and how to run and how to across this way to come closer to yourself or come to closer for the big house. And the big house is going to build by myself, and anyone wouldn't help me, but the people help me by giving me advice, by teaching me, and I am a person who gather all the information. Then I design by myself and I try to use information in the correct place, in the correct way, and in a suitable place that is the word that is suitable for that word. And I will not use the word with the people who do not accentuate, and I will not accentuate the people who do not accentuate me. But I am a person who pay difference for any individual, do not care about the religions, about the beliefs, about the nation, about the colors, about the hero. And I pay respect absolutely for the religions, about the beliefs, because I cannot change the mindsets of people, because I cannot change the beliefs of the people, and I'm not a person, and it is not my responsibility to change the beliefs of the people or the religions. The religions you believe, you will praise and you will pray with that. The religion that I believe, I want to pray my own way, but the only paradox between the human, there is no paradox. The paradox inside the big house. A big house is creating the paradox, and the paradox is solvable and we can solve, but we are not satisfied with each other. We do not. It is a proud that if I get along with you, it means that I insult myself. It is like this. We feel like this. But actually, if you are going to solve the paradox and break the bridge between the paradox and the paradoxical theory, we need to get along with the big house. After that, we will get along with other people, and at that time there won't be any paradox. The paradox is inside our mind, and it is born. It is born. It does not exist, but we create this and we burn this, and it will burn like a child, and it grew like a child, and it is our mind that grew up the paradox and grew up the toxic ideas, and the toxic ideas hurts the environment and hurts the people, and the people will spread these poisonous things, poisonous thoughts among the society, and the society will be corrupted, and this is the source of corruption. What is the source of corruption? The source of corruption is the big house, because it is not well trained and it is not well designed, and it needs a person who is who is professional and who is prophet at the designing, at making or at organizing the thoughts and the pillars at the bridge. And it needs like like these people, and do not need the people who want to root it all the pillars and try to spread the poisonous thought between the society and make the society corrupted. And this is the because my definition is this, but maybe yours be different and others might be different. There is a paradox between the human, and if there is no paradox, warrant any paradox between the human, the world will be safe place and anyone wouldn't argue with each other and all the question will be answered. But this is the product that make me perfect and makes you perfect and makes other perfect because I will not satisfy with an answer and you might not be and you also will not be answered with an answer and you try to analyze against a person that is trying to satisfy you, and I am trying to stand out against the person who is analyzing. I want to give reason, and he tries to give me a reason to
Mhm.
satisfy me. But we choose the reason that is rational and have the rationality to prove something.
Yes, it's beautiful, and I agree with you. Um, I like that, and I'm glad that again. I'm so happy that Arthur was able to get us together to speak. Um, I agree. I think that there's a few things that I need to that I want to speak to you further about because I want to understand what you mean. Is it okay if we talk again?
Yeah, of course it is okay. There's a
Yeah.
good time because the internet is good and I have time for talking. And on Friday, actually, I'm free. I haven't anything to do, and all the closed and the centers are closed, educational centers are closed, and I'm just free, relaxed at home.
Well, how about this? Let's cut this one. Let's go ahead and stop this one, and I'll talk to you on Messenger about when to schedule the next one. I have a couple of. I think you left us on a great note, and I want to articulate a couple of questions for you in regards to the big house, the mind, and what is, and as far as helping people and responsibility and responsibility to yourself and to others and that kind of thing. I think it is a beautiful subject, and I think you're a beautiful person, and I love that the fact I love that you love philosophy as I do, and I say we continue this conversation sometime next week, and I will message you, and we can determine that time and place. Is that
Thank,
okay?
thank you so much. It is okay. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you,
giving me
sir. Say your name one more time for me.
Mahdi Alizada.
Mahdi El Izada.
Yeah,
Close enough, right?
it was a
El
great.
idea.
Yeah, the correct one is Mahdi Alizada.
Mahdi El Izada. I will
Yeah,
practice.
yeah.
Okay, I'll message you and we'll set up a time next week. Okay, sir.
See you next week. Then have a good
Thank
time
you.
and goodbye.
Thank you, sir. Bye bye. And end meeting for all.